Football is a game of glory, legacy, and moments that define greatness. And for many players, nothing represents ultimate success more than lifting the UEFA Champions League trophy. It is the dream of every footballer to stand at the top of Europe, to hear the anthem, to etch their name into history. But football can be cruel, because even some of the greatest players to ever touch the ball never got that moment. This is the story of legends who conquered the world, dominated leagues, won individual awards, inspired millions, yet never won the Champions League. We begin with a man who defined confidence, charisma, and pure ability, Zlatan Ibrahimović. Zlatan played for some of the biggest clubs in Europe: Ajax, Juventus, Inter Milan, Barcelona, AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester United. Everywhere he went, he scored goals, spectacular goals, impossible goals. He won league titles in multiple countries, proving his dominance across Europe. And yet, the Champions League always escaped him. He came close, very close, but whether it was untimely transfers or unfortunate eliminations, Zlatan always seemed to leave a club just before they won it, or join just after their peak. It became one of football's strangest ironies, a player so dominant, yet missing the one trophy that defines European greatness. Then there is a phenomenon many consider one of the most naturally gifted strikers of all time, Ronaldo Nazário. Ronaldo was unstoppable at his peak. His speed, his skill, his finishing, defenders had no answers. He won the World Cup, multiple Ballon d'Or titles, and left fans speechless with his performances. But injuries disrupted his career at crucial moments. While he shone on the international stage, the Champions League never became his stage. Despite playing for giants like Real Madrid and Inter Milan, he never lifted the trophy. Another name that echoes loyalty and legacy is Francesco Totti. Totti could have left Roma. He had offers from Europe's biggest clubs, teams that could almost guarantee him Champions League success. But he stayed. He chose loyalty over trophies. And while he became a king in Rome, winning the Serie A title and becoming a club legend, the Champions League remained out of reach. Totti's story is one of sacrifice, a reminder that greatness isn't always measured by trophies alone. Now we move to one of the greatest goalkeepers in football history, Gianluigi Buffon. Buffon had everything: longevity, consistency, leadership. He won the World Cup with Italy and dominated Italian football with Juventus. But the Champions League? Heartbreak. Final after final slipped away. 2003, 2015, 2017, each time Buffon came close, and each time he fell short. For a player of his stature, it remains one of football's biggest what-if stories. Then comes a name that transcends football itself, Diego Maradona. Diego didn't need the Champions League to prove his greatness. He carried Napoli to unimaginable heights, winning Serie A titles against all odds. He won the World Cup and produced moments that still live in football folklore. But the Champions League, in its modern form, never aligned with his career peak, and so one of the greatest players of all time never had the chance to conquer Europe's biggest club competition. Next is a man who changed English football forever, Eric Cantona. Cantona wasn't more than a player. He was a symbol, a leader, a genius. At Manchester United, he inspired a generation and helped build the foundation of future dominance. But his European journey was limited. Suspensions, timing, and circumstances meant he never truly got the opportunity to dominate the Champions League. By the time United won it in 1999, Cantona had already retired. Now we talk about one of the most clinical strikers ever, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy was a goal machine. Inside the box, he was deadly. He scored goals consistently in the Champions League, even finishing as top scorer in multiple seasons. But football is not always fair. Despite his incredible scoring record, the trophy itself always eluded him. Another legend who dominated midfield battles is Patrick Vieira. Vieira was powerful, intelligent, and a true leader. At Arsenal, he captained the famous Invincibles team that went unbeaten in the Premier League. But in Europe, things were different. Arsenal came close in 2006, but Vieira had already left the club. Once again, timing played a cruel role in denying a legend his Champions League moment. Then we have elegance personified, Dennis Bergkamp. Bergkamp's touch, vision, and creativity made football look like art. His moments for Arsenal are unforgettable, but fear of flying limited his participation in European away games. And while Arsenal reached the final in 2006, Bergkamp was no longer part of the squad. Once again, another legend, another near miss. And finally, a striker who defined passion and loyalty, Gabriel Batistuta. Batistuta was a goal-scoring machine for Fiorentina. He stayed loyal even when bigger clubs came calling. His goals made him a hero, but his loyalty cost him opportunities to compete regularly at the highest European level. By the time he moved later in his career, the Champions League dream was already slipping away. And while these legends never lifted the trophy, modern stars are now facing the same question. Players like Harry Kane have dominated their era, scoring goals season after season, breaking records, and carrying teams on their shoulders. Yet the Champions League remains just out of reach. And then there is Marco Reus, a player whose career has been filled with brilliance and heartbreak. Injuries, near misses, and moments of bad luck have defined his journey. He came close in 2013, but it wasn't meant to be. These stories remind us of something powerful. Football is not just about talent, it is about timing, luck, decisions, and moments. You can be one of the greatest players in history and still miss out on the biggest prize. And maybe that when we see players lift that famous trophy, we should remember the legends who never did, the icons who gave everything to the game, who inspired generations, who created unforgettable memories, but never conquered Europe. Because greatness is not always measured by trophies. Sometimes it is measured by the impact you leave behind. And these players left a legacy that no